What's clapping YouTube? It's Jacob here from the Rush Dimension, and today I'll be showcasing my Predaplant Branded deck profile. It was an extremely fun profile to put together, especially doing the combo sections. It took me about a week and a half, more or less, to put everything together, to splash all the best parts of the engine together, and to show you guys what I came up with. But before we get into the profile, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Please ding the notification bell so YouTube can hit you up if there's any new content available. And if you enjoy the video, if you like the video, please consider hitting the thumbs up button for me. Alright, and let's just get straight into this one for you. Alright, first off, the new starter card of the deck will be the 3 Keeper of Dragon Magic. So in the German YCS, I saw one of the guys use one of these. This wasn't my prime starter. I still got stuck on playing 3 Scorpios. You can do exactly the same combo with Scorpios if you don't have Keeper of Dragon Magic. It just a bit of it becomes a 2-card combo instead of a 1, or 2.5 card instead of a 1. And I will you can definitely check out the combos in there. I think I have both of them in the combo section, so that if you guys don't have this card or would like to play strictly Predaplants, then you can take this out, and there is a way to get to the same board using Orpha Scorpio. Alright, the reason for running this card is because this searches you instant fusion, which gets you into the Ambulomades, and that will get the whole Predaplant combo, well, section of the combo rolling. Also, what you can do is mid to late game, this can search you Branded Fusion to continue the grind. And also a niche interaction is you can use the effect to reveal one of the Fawn of Albaz fusions out of your extra deck and special summon Fawn of Albaz face down, and that could help a lot, especially in your, for example, your Dragon Link matchups, where you could just contact fuse a few cards away and you can still get to summon Alba Lenatus using the Fawn of Albaz. So that's just the starter of the deck, and then I'm just going to go straight into the Predaplants, or the list that I played. So I went with 3 Biblis. This can obviously be cut down to 1 according to the latest engine if you want to play more simplified engine in the deck. I chose to stick with 3. I might cut it down to 2. I just wanted to keep going with consistency and repeatability, so that you can do the same thing multiple times. Even if you get interrupted, or if your board gets broken, you can do the same thing again. So this searches all your Predaplant monsters in the deck that you need to either continue playing or to need to extend with. And then I also, for the, let's say, normal summons 3 and 4, I kept with the Middasundew, specifically because this is a 1-card fusion, basically, where you could either go into turn 3 after your opponent has played. You can normal summon this, and you can fuse into anything else that you have available with the materials on field and from hand. It obviously has to be a dark, but I mean most of your extra deck is dark anyway. And if you have gotten it right to have spammed Predator counters to your opponent's side of the field, this can become a super poly, where you can then fuse with your opponent's monsters as well. So, which is pretty neat, and that's the only reason why I kept this in, so that if you've have all the cards in your hand, you can search this off Biblis, and you have a follow-up that you can go with, even if your entire board gets wrecked. And then I play the 1 Orpha Scorpio, and obviously you play the 1 Darlington Cobra, and then just the 1 Burfollicular and the 1 Stay Sailor. So reasoning behind this is obviously part of a combo. This obviously as well searches most of your fusion cards. If you already have all your fusion cards, you can search super poly of this in very tight situations as well. This can add you super poly, and you can just keep breaking through the board. And I'm just going to add in the extra cards here for you guys so you can see what the entire engine looked like. So this was the entirety of the Predaplant engine outside of the 3 keepers that I played. I stuck with the 1 Predaplanting because even as a discard, this is still a pretty good card to have in your graveyard. During your own turn or on your opponent's turn, if you use Super Poly or Fusion Summon a dark monster, you can just banish this from your graveyard, and this can pop a few cards, pop a card on the field. I just chose especially to keep this in to work under Mystic Mine or to out skill drain or anything that you find problematic when playing against your opponent. This kind of just is that toolbox just to add it in to be able to out some stuff. and Instant Fusion part of the combo. It's a 1-card combo. If this comes back to 3, I'm definitely playing it at 3 in this deck and upping the count of Amblyomades in the extra deck. And Super Poly, because I mean Super Poly is still broken. It's super searchable in this deck, so this can be considered as a going second card. So you have about 13 go second cards in this deck. And Stay Sailor, because going through, if the only playable card in your hand is Branded Fusion, which I highly doubt is ever possible, but it does happen where you brick on a bunch of hand traps, then you can at least go through Stay Sailor, summon Albion, and dump the Biblisp, or even send the Amblyomades directly from the extra deck to the graveyard, and then you can fusion summon Dracostopelia in a pinch. Or you can have this send the Blisp and add your starter card, or any of these two. For example, if we need a fusion based, you can add the Bophilicula. And that is it for the Predaplants. Like I said, if you need more room, you can cut one or two of these. You can cut the Chimera Sundews completely. I just chose to stick with it for the reasons I've mentioned. And I'm still play testing the deck, or stress testing the deck to its maximum to be able to simplify all the parts that I have in there. And maybe the next profile that I do, because there's definitely going to be a next profile, I'll have a more defined and redefined version for you guys, if you don't want to play all the different engines that I've played. Then for the branded part of the deck, 3 Branded Fusion, obviously it will be played at maximum as while it is legal. Branded opening still. The discards of this became a bit more difficult to, not difficult, it became a bit more worse because you don't play the patchwork engine. This is exactly why I kept the Biblisp at 3, so that you can get a plus off the discard that you send off this. And this also triggers the Stay Sailor if that was in your hand as well. So Stay Sailor is not a brick when it is in your hand, although you prefer sending it out of the deck. Then just the 1 copy of Aluba. This can obviously be bumped to 2. I prefer playing it at 1 because it's an added engine. And then I also added in just the 1 copy of Ad Libitum. I do not play Tragedy for the main reason that I didn't want to extend this half of the engine over the threshold. You can obviously play Tragedy if you prefer playing it that way. That gives you another play that you can do with Branded Fusion. I just chose not to do so because once you have your board through the combo, you can do exactly the same combo. What you do is you just send the Adlib directly from the deck to the graveyard, and then you can still have it special summoned off the banishment or have it added to your hand of Branded in red. Then for the last part of the engine, you have to play at least 2 Fawn of Albaz and just the 1 copy of Branded in red. I still play the 1 copy of Banishment. However, we're going through the different combos. You can choose to drop 1 of these and just have the 1 if you wanted to have an even more simplified engine. This just opens up a better Chimera line for you if you play Guardian Chimera, and this just is kind of a pseudo Super Poly. So if you'd like, you can actually drop this completely, add another Super Poly if that's how you prefer to play. But this is why the engine I had from the branded section. And then going into the hand traps, or let's just call it the going second part of the deck. So should your combo fail, or should you be versing your opponent in a hand trap war, I played 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Veilers, 3 Imperms, and also for going second was the 3 copies of Droplets. So Droplets can obviously be Nibiru's or Lanciers or whichever you prefer, or even Crows, depending on what's in your area or what's meta at your locals. These are just kind of very important right now for the current meta. Ash Blossom dealing with most of your branded decks and Effect Veiler and Imperm also. And these are just the best generic hand traps currently before the new stuff comes out. And then also just the one-off, just to round up the spells for that, was the 1 copy of Called By for if you go first and you need more protection going first. Then going into the extra deck, I went with 2 copies of Amblyomades for the sole purpose of, I understand that you can shuffle this back from the graveyard using Lubellion. I just went with 2 copies because like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I'm trying to stick to repeatability, so that once you've used one of these, or either your opponent has outed this and you maybe already went through a copy of Lubellion, then you still have access to another one, so that you are able to add another card from the deck on summon, and you can also tribute itself and special summon a card out of your deck, being Glimmer Sundew or Scorpion if you haven't used it. So you have so it is at least something to do. However, you can drop one of these for an extra copy of anything else that you play in the extra deck, or something extra that you prefer playing. I went with 2 copies of Dracostopelia. This can obviously be a third Dracostopelia because you burn through these quite fast, and banishment is kind of necessary to be able to summon one of these back if you are in a pinch. I still play the 1 copy of Chimera Fleischer for the sole purpose that I enjoy adding Super Poly in my opponent's standby phase, or if I already have Super Poly or used Super Poly, you can use this to add Branded Fusion just as your follow-up play. And this is obviously also one of the cards that you would go to should your hand be slightly unplayable, then you can at least still go to this, and this can burn 1,000 attack points off an opponent's monster and then add it to itself, so which is it doesn't really come up, but it's there if you need it. And then just the 1 Trifoveratum. This is my win con for one of, you'll see in one of the combos that I make. I aim for one of these specifically so that it gains the attack of all the monsters with Predaplant counters on the field, and it becomes huge. This can be a one-shot, one-punch man if there's a lot of monsters on the field and your opponent can't disrupt you during the battle phase. This will just kill him straight off. I play the 1 copy of Guardian Chimera. I have the 1 Starving Venom for Super Poly purposes, and also if cards on your side of the field have hit a roadblock, you can go into this. This is an alternative win con to Favoritism. You can use this to at least target a monster on the field, gain its attack points, and this can punch over a lot of even your Adignister, Arrival, or anything that's too big for your current build to work with. This is kind of just to out that mostly, and being a Super Poly target in the deck. I also played the 1 Millennium Eyes Restrict in case you have full combo in your hand already and you can search the instant fusion or have instant fusion in your hand. You can add this to the field as an additional disruption by banishing the 1 copy of, or a copy of, the branded opening. And also you can structure your combos where you can have this on the field before your major part of the combo is played, so that you are able to out Ash or Veiler if that is necessary. And just for the last part of the fusions, I went with 2 Albions. I went with 1 copy of Lubellion because you kind of rely more on Albion than Lubellion in this build, but that is personal preference. And I went with 1 copy of Albillanatus for the sole purpose of, I still have a couple of Dragoling players at my locals, and this is just a huge win con for them, or against them. And also this is another alternative win con mid to late game, especially in late game. If you are still able to resolve 1 copy of Branded Fusion, then you can actually summon this by shuffling back all of your dragons in the graveyard, especially a Keeper of Dragon Magic being an extra dragon you can shuffle back. You can shuffle all of that back. It can attack for each one that you've shuffled back, so this can be an alternative push for game if you need to. And then I'm still playing 2 copies of Mirror Jade. I am considering dropping this to 1 because this is not the main strategy of the deck anymore, and this can also be shuffled back with Lubellion if you need that to be done. And most of the combos that you'll see in the combo section doesn't rely on Mirror Jade, and most of your other monsters that you will be summoning are adding so much pressure to the board already that Mirror Jade is just extra. And obviously playing Mirror Jade is to dump one of these 2, and the extra reason why I added in Albillanatus over something like the 3rd Albion was that if you do get the type of hand where you are able to mull twice off Mirror Jade before summoning it back in your opponent's turn, then you can send Albion and you can send Albillanatus, so that you can get both of these triggers in your end phase, or even during your opponent's turn. If you don't need to have any more branded type cards set from your deck to the field or added to your hand of the Albion, you can have this add something like instant fusion or anything that you need to close the game in the next turn. And that is it for the fusions. And then just a quick side deck. Not that the side deck is really relevant. This is the side deck I built last night so I can go play at my locals. So I went with 3 Drollenlock because you play so many hand traps, you can just like kind of swap them out depending on how you need them. So these are the hand traps that I've added. You still play Drollenlock for the combo decks, Nibiru for the combo decks. That's more like just a a heavier hand trap against them, and DD Crows for your 1 or 2 Sky Strikers, or even your branded matchups. This is pretty good. And if you have an extremely good combo player, you'll have the Dark Ruler No More with Drolan Lock against something like Drytrons, because that is still a viable strategy. And I played the 3 Twin Twisters just as an add-on for still to respect your back row decks, because that is still a thing that is running around. And I think that is it for today, guys. I'm really excited for you guys to check out the combo section in this video. There's a lot of love and a lot of blood, sweat and tears that went into doing that combo section, and I really hope you guys enjoy it. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the profile. Please don't hesitate to comment anything down below if there are any changes that you prefer, any combos that you would like to see, or any combos that you'd like to share with us. and we will see you next time.